Hello and welcome back to the Give and Go. I'm your co-host Reynoso here with my boy
Soltero. What's up, guys?
On the docket today is international football. We want to recap the big storylines, the big matches, everything that's happening leading up to the Euros, to the Copa America, or even World Cup qualifying if you want to talk about Asia, man. There's a lot of topics to cover here, a lot of places we could go. And I think the way I'll kind of guide the conversation is by asking you this question. What fixture right now in international football do you believe obtains the highest amount of stars on the same pitch at the same time? What matchup has that? Is it England-France? Is it Brazil-Argentina? Brazil-Spain? France-Brazil? What matchup has the most stars on the pitch in the international game?
Fuck.
Yeah, stars.
Fuck, man.
Stars.
Yeah, if you say stars, I don't know if I'd say Argentina, for example.
Yes.
They might be the best team in international football. I don't know about stars anymore.
Can't throw Belgium in the conversation.
Yeah, you can't throw that. I mean, France, possibly, just because a lot of the players do highly excel at their club level. England, just because the Prem is so big, every single player that gets called up that plays on the pitch is a star for their respective club. Apparently the biggest league in the world. So I think you'd have to say England 100% right now in 2024. And then you could probably say Brazil. You could probably say like maybe a Spain, a France. But after that, it just becomes really, really good teams with stars glittered throughout.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I liked about this international break is that I felt like we got like 3 matchups between like the top 4 teams in terms of star-studded talent, with Brazil facing off against England, France faced off against Germany, and then Brazil faced off against Spain. And we saw that theme of stars on the pitch. Even if it was a friendly, man, we saw some incredible matchups. And I guess the first thing that I want to start the show off with is one of the biggest headlines right now in international football is what we saw from Lamine Yamal, 16 years old, putting on that Spanish jersey and performing up to the level of the Brazilians, my friend. And at the same time, on the other side of the pitch, Endrick getting his first goal at the Santiago Bernabeu. Lamine Yamal going off to a standing ovation at the Santiago Bernabeu, and just both of these young, talented players displaying themselves on such a big stage, showcasing that the future of football is in really good hands, but more than anything, showcasing that they're like living the dream right now, man. Yeah. Like what we're seeing from both these guys is truly incredible, to the point that I just wanted to ask you this question. Whose career start would you rather have, Lamine Yamal's or Endrick's? Think about it, man. Endrick going to Real Madrid, playing in Brazil, winning titles with Palmeiras.
I'd take Bellingham's. I'm going to take I'd take Bellingham. I was starting in the second division of England. Go over to Germany for a couple of years.
I asked the wrong person.
And then go to Real Madrid, you know? But, I mean, Yamal was born in royalty at Barcelona, right? And Endrick, Palmeiras product, which has probably the best academy in Brazil, and then he immediately himself books a ticket to Spain, to one of the biggest clubs in Europe. Which one would you rather have, Endrick or Lamine Yamal? I mean, they're honestly both pretty similar. Just Endrick coming from Brazil, Palmeiras. Yeah. But I mean, what Lamine Yamal has done for Barcelona, honestly, I thought he was going to be kind of like a Ansu Fati type of character that would have really good minutes for Barcelona at such a young age, be more of an impactful player, but he's gone above that. Like, people thought Ansu Fati was going to be the next Messi, the next big product out of La Masia. But, I mean, you see Lamine Yamal play, and I think he's like the clear favorite to actually be one of the better footballers on the planet, and he's 16-year-old Barcelona product.
Yeah, I hope his health is kind to him.
Yeah.
Because that's what we saw really play against Ansu Fati, was his health. But I remember early in the season, we talked about Lamine Yamal as like a prospect. And
I think Yamal's fantastic, man. Excellent off the dribble, so eager to penetrate. I think Yamal's going to have a big learning curve this year and maybe even the next year to figure out himself and how to use his talents to be efficient. I think he's going to have some crazy highlights this season. Yeah. I think he's going to take players one-on-one, and he's going to get past them the majority of the time. But I think when it comes to that final ball or that final finish, I think he's going to be lacking. And that's not even a criticism. It's just he's so good, but he's so young, bro. I think all it's going to take is time for Yamal to be truly effective.
I think you pointed out, just like, he's going to have his highlights. He's going to have his good moments this season, but maybe that final product won't be there in front of goal. I really do feel like he actually has superseded that expectation that we set for him here on this pod, because I just keep hearing about this guy every week. And when you watch Barcelona, his importance is actually very, very big to how the team works together. And he's actually carved himself out a role in that winger position for both Barcelona and the Spanish national team, man. Like, I just think it was such a big moment for both of these young players to have at such a big stage in the international game, to stand out like that amongst Spanish players and Brazilian players. I was really, thrown aback a little bit by that, and just seeing the highlights and how people reacted to it.
Yeah, I'll be so curious to see Endrick's career, though, because even at Palmeiras, while he did play a large part for them in winning the title, he got a lot of minutes in Serie A in Brazil this past season. He also was weirdly loosely used in the Copa Libertadores. So there's that kind of weird contention there as, how important was he really for Palmeiras? Now, he did score a lot of goals, but what's really interesting about that is he scored just a little bit more the amount of goals that Neymar did when he was like 17 or 18 years old back at Santos. So there's already some parallels there for Endrick, which I think are going to be really interesting to see. But the big difference, though, is that compared to Neymar, Endrick's immediately gone to Europe. Yeah. And that's where I really am curious to see next season specifically, how does Endrick get integrated into European club football? I'm really curious to see if he's going to be able to actually pull it off. Is he going to be more of like a Lamine Yamal that only comes off of the bench? Is he not going to have the same amount of impact? I have no idea, honestly, because he's so young. He just got here. We obviously know he's a huge talent, playing for Brazil, scoring against England as well in his debut. So it's been fantastic for Endrick, for Brazil national team this international window. But I think he's got a little bit more to go when you compare him to Lamine Yamal.
Yeah, for himself, 100%. And then with the club he's going to, Real Madrid, it's Bellingham, Rodrigo, Vinny Jr., potentially Mbappe.
Yeah.
How do you fit him into that offensive scheme, man? To be able to fully thrive, I do think he's going to play a role off the bench, man. I think he's going to have to carve himself out a role in that sense because he is so young. He's so early on. I don't think he'll get the immediate start, but it's just such a loaded offensive squad for Real Madrid right now that the talent that they have is insane. They're living a rich man's dream right now with the level of talent and quality that they are projected to have. But it's good that Yamal is also thriving at Barcelona because now I think it's shaping up for what could be a really good, kind of rivalry between the youngster, the wonder kid for Real Madrid and the wonder kid for Barcelona. Lamine Yamal, already one of the best players for them. Yeah. I just think it's incredible to see them perform this well in this stage. Staying in Europe, we had the final selection for who gets to earn that Euro 2024 spot now that the playoffs have occurred. And the three winners are Georgia, Poland, in Ukraine, my friend.
Sir.
Of these three teams, which are you most surprised to see qualify into the Euros?
Honestly, none of them, just because when you look at who they faced, they were definitely beatable opponents. Georgia beating Greece. Greece, did well to get here, and Georgia did too. Either one could have gotten through. The game goes to penalties after a 0-0 draw. I think it was very clear that they're both even. But yeah, I'm actually excited for Georgia just because I've never seen Georgia at a Euros. Also, just the idea of Kvaratskhelia maybe being able to pop off one summer for Georgia is an exciting idea.
I need that.
It'd be really cool to see. And there's also some other Georgians who are doing really well throughout Europe too. Kiteshvili with Sturm Graz too. So all play definitely lower level football, but the fact they've been able to qualify for your Euros, I think is huge for a country like Georgia. And Ukraine against Iceland, that was actually the one I was most excited to see out of the three matchups, mainly because both aren't necessarily the best defensively, and they just kind of go all-out offense with respect to the talent that they have, and that's exactly what we got. We got a really good game here, 2-1, and it was actually Iceland who broke the deadlock first. A crazy goal from Gudmundsson outside the box, bullets it through the Ukrainian defense, and it was just a gorgeous goal. But Ukraine themselves had a brilliant second half, proving to be mainly a second half team, honestly, when you look at their past results. And it ended up being Sigankov from Girona and Mikhailo Mudryk.
How was his goal? I didn't see it.
It was gorgeous.
It was good?
It was a really good goal. It was a ball from the right-hand side, and he was maybe like 14 yards out, center of the box, and he hits it one time.
Oh, wow.
One-time finish in the left-hand side of the net. No way the keeper was stopping it because he got a tremendous amount of purchase on the shot. Ukraine get themselves a 2-1 win here, and I think they completely deserved it. They had just a little bit more verve, a little bit more energy in that second half, and they went all out on the offense, and it worked. 2-1. I'm really glad Ukraine got here just because they do play silky football when they're on it, and I'm just really excited to see what they can do.
They got exciting names, dude. They really do.
Yeah, man.
Of the 3 teams that qualified, they were the only one that won it outright in the first 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Poland went to penalties after putting up 0 donut shots on target the whole match, man.
Yeah, dude,
this was the team I was disappointed to see go through. No offense, no disrespect to Polish people, but from what I saw at the World Cup, the trajectory of this nation, how they play football, I think it's one of the lower levels of football that exists right now in Europe that's good enough to get through to these tournaments. But once they're at these tournaments, they end up ultimately disappointing.
Dude, completely agree. When I saw Poland was facing Wales, I was like, God damn it. Like, I don't want to see either of these teams.
Well, Wales a little bit more.
Not even, man. Just because I know once they get to the Euro stage, it's going to be tough for them because of what you just said. When you look at both Poland and Wales, they're just kind of stagnant. Their progress has been stagnant over the last 3-4 years. They're not getting better, but they're also not getting worse. So that's why they're able to pretty much get near qualification. Poland actually pulling it off. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm not excited about Poland here just because they have good players, but as a team, they just don't really play fluid football. It's a chore to watch Poland play, man. So yeah, congratulations. They do deserve it through penalties. And it'll be great if you're Polish that they're at the Euros, but that's it for me.
Yeah, and after I saw who qualified through, I decided to go back and just kind of look at the groups, just take a little peek at what's waiting for us in the summer, man. And man, these matchups are going to be so fun. Like,
oh, yeah.
Dude, the first matchup, the first team that Austria faces off against is France. And you know how high I am on Austria and Hungary, both of them, as dark horse contenders. We'll get into it deeply once we preview that tournament, those teams. But just thinking about these matchups, the first game they face off, that'll be such a clear answer as to where this Austrian team is in the grand scheme of international football against one of the best teams in the world in France. Like, that's just a preview of what we'll get in this massive tournament. Dude, I'm so excited for the Euros now, and I'm glad that finally it's solidified. We have all 24 teams that are participating. I can't wait.
Yeah, Austria just scored 6 goals in their friendly on Tuesday. So, like, oh, shit. Like, they're definitely brewing.
There's something there. And speaking of teams that might be brewing in Europe, you hear anything or did you see anything about Toni Kroos returning to the German national team after a stint where he wasn't playing for them and ultimately, I think, said that he retired, decides to come back and within 30 seconds provides an assist to grab the lead against France, and then they go on to defeat Netherlands as well. 2 wins against 2 really quality opponents for this German side that will be hosting the Euros. Is there something cooking up for Germany, man, after a bit of a downspell these past few years?
There's got to be. I mean, when you look at the talent Germany have, I just don't think there's any way they underperform at the Euros, considering they're hosting it. I don't care what their form has been for the last 4 years, because it has not been good, especially last year. And you include the World Cup, their form has been atrocious. They've been one of the biggest underperformers in Europe. But I don't care. They could have lost these games against France and the Netherlands, and I would still have a fairly similar analysis. You have to be scared of Germany at the Euros.
Well, we saw what happened with host nations so far in Asia and Africa.
Yeah, man.
Same thing for Europe.
Exact same thing.
Yeah, and I do wonder what this new era of Germany looks like. It's Nike Germany now, no longer Adidas. So I think this is actually a bit of a new era for them that they're bringing in, but I also think that the players that they need to step up in the build-up to the tournament are doing that, and guys like Jamal Musiala, who said himself that he feels like he's playing the best football he has so far in his very young career, and Florian Wirtz, I think, got either a goal or an assist against the Netherlands as well. That I think those 2 guys are really big components for this national team, and now you have the security of Toni Kroos in that midfield. There's no questions there, bro. That's a born winner, and honestly, it's pretty crazy they had to go a good amount of years without his presence, man, given that he's just such a winner, man, when he's in that midfield.
Yeah, did you see that Antoine Griezmann didn't feature for France for the first time in like 7 years?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So he had a streak going?
He had a streak going.
Oh, wow.
Where he had been featured for like, I don't know how many games in a row, but he had been called up every single time France had played a game.
I saw that the French lineup was weird.
Yeah.
They didn't put out their best 11, but they are so deep that it's
it's not going to ultimately matter for games like this, but yeah, just Griezmann, just big shout out there. He's been, the biggest player for his club at Atletico Madrid, and honestly, for France in that midfield role at international level. And, maybe it showed since they lost to Germany. You're just going to put that out there. But he's injured. That's why he didn't get called up.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Did injured. You got that Champions League matchup coming up, bro. That's what it is. You're happy he's in. I also saw that Didier Deschamps said, and I want to know if you agree with this, he claims that he believes Saliba isn't the best French defender. How do you feel about that? A player that's guiding the best defense in the Prem right now and has been incredible for Arsenal ever since he joined the squad, not really being recognized for his talent in the center back position and a little bit lower in the pecking order than what a lot of people think he is.
Yeah, I saw that, and honestly, it's absurd.
I think so.
You have to start Saliba. No matter if you're on the most stacked international team right now, he has to be the starting center back alongside literally anybody else. Take your pick. And there's a lot of talent. Do not get me wrong, but what he's done for Arsenal, not just this year, but last year as well, Saliba has played top football for now 2 straight years. He has to be not just the best French center back, but probably the most informed too, the most consistent.
Yeah,
so I'm just kind of surprised by that. But I think for Deschamps, this is where international football gets weird, right? We've seen this before, not just in Europe, in CONCACAF, CONMEBOL. It happens literally everywhere. When you have a coach that's been there for so long, he has his favorites, and I think this is that case. Saliba just hit the scene a year and a half ago. Deschamps has been the coach of France for like a decade. Yeah. So I think it's going to be, there's going to be some contention as Deschamps just hears about Saliba and Arsenal and be like, oh, I'll pick him. But, Deschamps is the coach of France. I don't think he's just going to immediately see it and be like, all right, you're starting, unless there's some sort of connection, some sort of communication between them. Do I like it? No. I think he has to pick him. But this happens all the time at international football.
Yeah, a coach who was a penalty shootout away from being a back-to-back World Cup winner.
Yeah.
Tough to criticize, but I also do wonder if this is a little bit of the beginning of the end for Deschamps, man. It's been a long ride, and they never end very pretty, bro. And I think things like this, decisions like these, I need to wait and see until the Euros to see if any momentum is built towards him ultimately leaving the team. But for now, he is the main guy. I'm just a little questionable if he's saying things like that, bro, because that's something that's so obvious. It's like saying that Mbappe isn't your best striker. Like that, it's just weird to me that he doesn't recognize the talent when it is there and it's right in front of him.
Maybe it's a little France-England rivalry. He just can't look past that he plays for Arsenal. I don't know. Maybe Deschamps doesn't like Arsenal. I have no idea.
Who does he think is his best defender then? That's my question. Is it Lucas Hernandez at center back? Is it Konate? Upamecano?
Right. I mean, well,
Koundé?
For all the last 2 years.
Disasi?
2 years. For all the last 2 years, he's picked like some sort of combination of Konate, Upamecano, Hernandez if he's healthy. Koundé either plays as a very defensive right back or just as a third center back. He's always picked those guys. And that's what I'm saying is that he's had those crop of players for a while now. And then you add in Saliba out of nowhere. I just think it's Deschamps, kind of showing his power here.
Yeah. Coaching is very interesting in the international game. And if you don't mind, I'd like to transition over to the South American game.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Sticking on coaches, we have a coach here who's been putting up a really good job so far, transitioning a team out of their golden generation and out of the weird phase that they were in into hopefully a really positive one. Do you know where I'm going with this?
Colombia,
my friend. I think Nestor Lorenzo has done an incredible job so far, guiding Colombia to the longest unbeaten run right now actively in international football with 21 games undefeated. This is a Colombian team, bro, that during World Cup qualifiers pissed us off, man. Do you remember that run? It was right when we were starting the podcast. They went like 7-8 games where they could not score a single goal, man. Colombians were down bad, and we saw, bro, because they ultimately failed to qualify for the World Cup, man.
They sucked.
They sucked, and it was a failure because there was still talent there, but I really do think it was the weird transitionary period of leaving that old golden generation that they had in 2014 and 2018 and then starting to adapt to this new modern era of football. But what I think we're seeing now is finally like the light at the end of the tunnel for Colombia, because they've transitioned that old talent out and they've included a lot of brand new young players that have a really positive spirit to them, that we're seeing them guide them to this unbeaten run in international football, bro. It's really, really positive.
Yeah.
With this international break, defeating Spain in Europe 1-0 and then defeating Romania 3-2 at home, I believe. Two really solid results, but results that just stack upon themselves after everything we've seen so far from them. I think Colombia has been really, really good, and I'm starting to keep an eye on them, bro, because the Copa America is right around the corner. How will they perform?
I'm so impressed with how well Colombia has done post-World Cup. You think about it, it's only been a year and a half, but they've completely turned around their fortunes. If I'm being completely honest, I thought it was going to take a lot longer for the Colombian transition to be successful with this new generation. I mean, because we're seeing Chile, Peru really struggle with their transitionary period out of their golden generation.
Chile, man.
Like, really struggle.
Chile's been stuck for a while.
Damn. They've been stuck. And I thought Colombia would be stuck, not as bad as, let's say, Chile, but at least for like 2-3 years. But no, man. I mean, they've completely turned it around, so much so that I have them as genuine contenders going into this Copa America. You asked me if I would have thought the same thing just even like 6 months ago. I'd be like, no. Colombia's going to be a feisty team, but the form that they're in, the way that they're playing, but also just you can see it in their energy, the way that they approach every single game. They're happy to be there. They're playing really pretty football. You have guys in really good form as well. Colombia is going to be a force at this Copa America, and the timing for Colombia could not be any better. You pop off here at the States this summer, and then you build yourself for a really good World Cup qualifying campaign going into 2026. This is really good news for Colombia, man.
Really good, man.
And it's also really interesting that James Rodriguez still finds a way to be fairly instrumental to this Colombian national team.
It's crazy, bro, because I do think that's one of the reasons why the transition has happened so quickly, is because they've been kind of cold in their approach. Like, for example, Davinson Sanchez doesn't get playing time anymore. He's only 30 years old, bro. He's not like that old. Zapata doesn't get starting time anymore. Ospina is basically out.
Yeah.
Cuadrado's out, but that would make sense because he's like 35 years old, right? But there are some decisions there where the guys aren't necessarily old or washed, but there's something about like having a spirit amongst them, or just an idea that I think involves this new generation that we're seeing. And James Rodriguez has been one of the few guys that was able to outlast that really muddy period they were in, because I saw that he still gets started. He still gets starts every now and then. He still provides like really important assists and goals if needed too. So that's been surprising. But then I think the two big factors of why Colombia has been so good, first and foremost, is the rise of Luis Diaz.
Oh, yeah.
That one is actually crazy.
Yeah,
like,
it's huge.
Everything runs through him. It's almost like a Vinny Jr. at Real Madrid type situation. When in doubt, Luis Diaz it out, because you just throw that ball over to the left wing and he can cook up an opportunity in so many different ways. We see it with how successful he is at Liverpool, but over at Colombia, man, he's got that extra added layer of passion, man, putting on that Colombian jersey. And he just created so many opportunities this past weekend where I was just like, man, Luis Diaz is the guy for them. He runs their offense, and it's just incredible what he can generate. And then lastly, it's the inclusion of new names like Jorge Carrascal, John Arias, the Fluminense player, Jefferson Lerma, continue to play at a high level in the Prem, Johan Mojica, and then the center backs, John Lucumi and Carlos Cuesta. New names here, bro, that I'm not used to seeing, but I think have really become the regulars now for this Colombian team that are bringing in this new era that we're speaking so positively about.
Yeah, it's an example of great transition when you look at the squad. You already kind of mentioned it. The old players that are still there are still instrumental. They still give their minutes. They still provide that veteran experience. But you look at the players that have been included into this team, like John Arias, for example, Carrascal. They play top quality football, just at a slightly lower level than, let's say, the top 3 leagues in the world. But you bring it all together, you give them a role, and it just works really beautifully. Luckily, Colombia has that almost luxury that they do have still a really good amount of players throughout the world and also throughout South America that they can pick from. Yeah. But again, full credit to Nestor Lorenzo for picking the right guys and actually building a really solid foundation for a really successful Colombia.
Where does Colombia rank them right now in the Americas? Let's just put a number to it. I'm going to go...
I mean, I
think they're at the U.S. level, like, right now. I would put them tied for, like, fourth.
I would say if you go off of form, if you go off of form, they'd be like third. I would say like Argentina won still. Let's just say that. You can't put Brazil two because their form has actually not been that good. I would put Uruguay as second, and then I put Colombia 3, or tied for 3 with the U.S. essentially.
Yeah. I think Colombia's really high right now.
In terms of form, yeah.
Best team in the Americas right now, I would, that's different.
That's what we're going to find out of the Copa.
I think that's what we'll find out. I could see a quarterfinal, semifinal run in the works for Colombia here if things work out for them, bro. I mean, the team is there now. This is a completely different team now, man.
Dude, same,
completely different team.
And I'm so actually excited and grateful because now we just, all of a sudden, there's an extra team that is really good at the Copa America this summer. Thank God, because just the higher the quality, the more teams that are really good, just the better, more insane that this tournament's going to be. So let's go Colombia, man. I'm so happy they've shown up.
Yes.
So real quick, just want to give a congratulations to Costa Rica qualifying themselves into the Copa America. We talk about Colombia as a team in transition from a golden generation. Costa Rica is that team, but my God, have they been stuck in the past. Because their golden generation was literally 10 years ago, but they had been trying to keep that golden generation going for 8 years too long, bro.
Yeah.
And I think finally, with the new coach, I think they're finally getting out of that mode, that idea of picking all the old players that were very successful for them for a long time. But I think finally they're picking just the new guys now. You look at the 11 that played against Honduras, the only guys that had really featured for Costa Rica before was Keylor Navas and Jose Francisco Calvo. That's pretty much it. Everybody else has been in the system for a while, but had always been fringe players or had just recently hit the scene for Costa Rica. I think finally they have a new crop of players that they now have to rely on. And it's just, an average Central American side. I'm going to be completely honest here. Yeah. Nothing exciting.
But that's the thing. They got a banger in them, man.
Yeah.
These Central Americans got bangers in them, man.
Yeah, they got them.
Because that game had goals, bro. Goals galore.
They did. Also some goalkeeping mistakes from Honduras. That's the problem. Yeah. And so, while they did beat Honduras 3-1, I think it's a little bit flattering. I think they were the better team, but maybe by like a goal. Yeah. Honduras actually didn't play that poorly. They just played nowhere near the level that they played against Mexico. Mm-hmm. If they had done that, they would have beaten this Costa Rican side. And that's my other point here. I'm done with Honduras, man.
We have to be, bro. We try to trust them.
I try.
We try.
I really give it my best, man. Because they do have good players. They always have decent talent that, for Central American sides, punch above their weight, man. But the inconsistency is so concerning that I just can't consider Honduras ever. I just can't. And that's what I learned today. That's what I learned on Saturday against Costa Rica. They go up 1-0. I'm like, okay, good. Michael Chirinos with a banger. Yeah. Keep it up. But beautiful goal. They just... The goalkeeper has a couple howlers. There was a deflection at one point. There was just some bad defending, and they didn't fully look like they believed in themselves, that they were better than Costa Rica. And I think that's where I give the credit to Costa Rica, because they played their hearts out for the entire 90 minutes. Honduras, when they give up, they give up. Yeah. And that's where I'm just done with this international team. They're missing a huge opportunity by not qualifying for the Copa. I'm very disappointed. But on the other hand, this is big for Costa Rica, man. This is huge, because now they have to take these players who have never really played at any sort of big competition, and now they have to perform at a really big one at the Copa America. Yes. This is what they've earned, a chance to play against America's best. And I think it's going to be a tough task for Costa Rica. I really do. All I hope is that the coach doesn't get scared and tries to resurrect some of the golden generation players, man.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't want that.
I hope he doesn't do that.
But I hope he takes a really defensive approach. He bunkers in, and you just prey on the greatness of Keylor Navas.
Yeah.
Because that could be fun.
It could be fun.
Keep it tight, 0-0. Maybe you get a surprise goal. Maybe you take it extra time or penalties. That, I think, is the best plan for this Costa Rican side going into this tournament, because they're clearly one of the worst teams at it. But they do have the talent to, bunker in and take on the pressure that these teams could provide.
Yeah, and all my hope is that they take this experience of the Copa America, get stronger, get more unified as a team with all of these new players, and then try to just improve their ability as a team, get better over the next couple of years, and have a successful World Cup qualifying campaign. So honestly, really good job for Costa Rica qualifying. And then on the other end, Canada beating Trinidad 2-0, I believe. There was no surprise there, really. Schaffelberg getting a late goal as well. But, I mean, there's just so much unknown with Canada. There's so much unknown. We know who the good players are, right? Tejan Buchanan, Alphonso Davies, Jonathan David, Stefan Eustachio. There's some incredible talent, actually, for Canada. It's kind of crazy.
That's great because Davies is rumored to potentially going to Real Madrid. Wow. Like, imagine, there's a Real Madrid crest in that lineup, man. It's just so weird for me to comprehend or think about, given how they've played.
And that's the problem, man. I mean, it was 1-0 for the entire match. They just can't really find the back of the net right now. They haven't been able to since the World Cup. This Canada team is out of form. Their players are so high quality, though, that they can beat a Trinidad, for example. And I think they can compete at the Copa America. But my God, they're going to have to use this Copa America as a time to just refigure things out. You know, it'll be a nice month-long tournament. They'll get to familiarize themselves with everybody, refamiliarize themselves with the new coach as well. I think that's what they have to focus on. I don't even care about results for Canada anymore because I just don't think they can win at this moment. So I'm just praying that Canada finds some form. That's it, man. Speaking of qualifications for tournaments, World Cup qualifying's been going on. And just real quick, since we're in CONCACAF World Cup qualifying technically started this past window.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I just want to quickly highlight the two winners. Anguilla beat Turks and Caicos Islands,
big win.
and they qualify into the next round. Yeah. And the British Virgin Islands go through against the U.S. Virgin Islands.
The Virgin Classico.
I heard about that.
Yeah, it was really tense, right?
It was. Yeah, it ended up being, I think, 2-1 on aggregate.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a tight affair. And those two teams now go on to the next round.
Big.
World Cup qualifying has started in CONCACAF, so a big congratulations to those two teams. But you see those Asia results, bro?
That's where World Cup qualifying is getting a little bit more serious, my friend. You want to start us off for me?
I mean, I just want to say, a lot of the teams that we saw at the Asian Cup have continued their form, bro.
That's the theme of what's happened. I completely agree. Almost every group is decided because everyone played the same opponent twice.
Yeah.
In this fixture. It's kind of funny.
Kind of cool.
But I agree. What we saw in Asia was a continuation of AFC Asian Cup results almost to a T, man. To the point where I had to look up a stat myself. This is a stat where I went through the games and I was like, okay, I figured it out myself. And here's what the stat was is how did the teams that competed in the Asian Cup do versus the non-Asian Cup teams?
Ooh, okay.
24 total matches where an Asia Cup team faced off against a non-Asian Cup team. Can you guess how many of those were victories for the Asian Cup sides of 24 games?
Okay, I'm going to say probably 90%. So what does that come out to? 20?
21.
Oh, okay.
21 wins, 2 draws, only 1 loss.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Guess who got that loss?
It's got to be one of the worst ones. So Malaysia?
Fucking India, bro.
India
lost to Afghanistan 2-1, man.
Yeah, no, that honestly though doesn't surprise me, man. India, we're not good, bro.
Yeah. We said the worst team at the AFC Asian Cup was India based off performance.
Yeah, you're right.
Here they are proving it.
Malaysia ended up scoring some bangers, whereas India just
crazy.
Could not figure it out.
It's crazy. And what's even more insane is that they still actually have a chance of qualifying out of their group because that group is actually very tight with the first place team. I think it's Qatar having 12 points.
Yeah, they're through.
Second, third, and fourth place. India in second with 4 points. Afghanistan in third with 4 points. Kuwait in last with 3. So it's a question of who faces off against Qatar in those final 2 fixtures. Kuwait is the only team that doesn't face against Qatar.
Okay.
So they could be the ones that do it.
All right.
Really interesting.
Yeah, really interesting. Yeah, India. Yeah, I don't know what to say, man. Honestly, if they do get in the next round, don't expect anything, bro. Expect zero. But our boys Indonesia, man.
Indonesia has Vietnam's number, man. Good Lord.
What, 1-0, I think, in Vietnam, 3-0 in Indonesia, or 3-1, something like that. Indonesia looking really good, and I'm actually really happy because they were one of the surprises at the Asian Cup, considering how, quote unquote, low their FIFA ranking is. But we're about to see that number continually rise for the next 12 months because this team is very exciting. They have some incredible players in their youth and in their prime. They were the youngest team in the AFC Asian Cup, and they're in form, bro. They're in really good form. But did you look at that group? It's almost the same group as at the Asian Cup because it was Vietnam, Indonesia, and Iraq is in that same group.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Who's the fourth team? I can't remember.
It's a really weak team.
Yeah, they have Philippines in their group as the weakest team. And, I mean, this one's already basically decided, I think, from what I saw. Indonesia's on 7 points. And with the form that they're in, beating Vietnam at the AFC Asian Cup as well, like, bro, to me, this is the second best team in this group. And they're going to qualify into the next round. And I was looking at it, man, like, because of how almost predictable this round has been, the following round is going to be insane.
Oh,
because it's basically Asian Cup round 2. Yeah. It's all the Asian Cup teams qualifying into the next round, and I think it's 18 total teams that qualify into the next round, 3 groups with 6 teams in each group. Top 2 of each of those groups qualifies. Like, it's going to be a bloodbath, man. Like, the quality is going to be insane. And all these narratives, all these storylines that we've attached ourselves to, we're going to get the answers right away, man.
No, man.
It's kind of scary.
I'm actually very concerned, bro, because there are some teams that will deserve to go through but just won't make it, and vice versa, some teams that sneak their way in.
Yeah.
Because Asia, low-key, is probably one of the most equal landscapes out there in all of international football confederations. And there's some good football to be had. Qatar also just popping off this window, just continuing that really good form. Iraq, Iran, too. South Korea, they drew their first match.
The first game. I mean, that was the first game under the new head coach, no?
Yeah. It was a draw, bro. 1-1.
Against Thailand.
Yeah. But then they went to Korea and got a good result there, so they kind of redeemed it. There's one group, though, right now that I'm very concerned about. It's Saudi Arabia, Tajikistan, and Jordan.
Yeah, I saw that.
One of them's not going to go through.
One of them's not going to go through. And it's going to be Tajikistan, my friend.
I hope it is. Jordan and Tajikistan play each other next. The thing is, Jordan have to play Saudi Arabia last. Mm-hmm. So if you consider Tajikistan win their last game, then Tajikistan will have a chance if they get some sort of result against Jordan.
Bro, Jordan not going through?
No, they have to win.
Oh, they have to.
I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about that.
They
have to. They just scored 6 goals against, I think it's Pakistan. 7.
I think they know what's at stake, bro. I think they're thinking the same thing.
Yeah. But I'm just so glad that they continue their form and just win off.
Yes.
That they didn't waste any time. Alto Mari, I think, scored 4 goals.
Jesus
so he's
Christ.
just going off. Olwan, our boy Olwan, got on the board. Like, all the guys that showed up for Jordan in the AFC Asian Cup are showing up still. They have to. I'm just scared because Tajikistan just tied Saudi Arabia. So they're trying. They are trying, bro.
It feels wrong to root against either side, man. Tajikistan was such a good story. Their first AFC Asian Cup. Why are we rooting against them pursuing their first World Cup, man?
I know.
It's like it's the most it's like one of the most beautiful stories in international football if they pull it off.
Yeah, man.
And here we are going for second place at the Asian Cup. Wow, man. We've changed, bro. We've changed.
Yeah,
but Jordan defeating Pakistan 7-0. This result really shocked me, kind of scared me, if anything, because I don't know, man. How does it make you feel when you hear China 4, Singapore 1? 4, bro. 4 goals for China.
Yeah. But I think, wasn't the first fixture, didn't they tie?
Yeah.
Wasn't it China 1, Singapore 1 or something like that?
Yeah, they tied, and then the second one, China actually won.
Yeah, no, I'm done with China.
No,
I'm
you have
done.
to be.
The fact that they even tied Singapore, congratulations to Singapore for getting that valuable point. But no, China's China. We said it at the AFC Asian Cup, one of the most disappointing sides. Like, India had their troubles, but it was almost expected. China, there was some hope for China, but there's zero hope for me. I'm done talking about this
less
Chinese
hope for
side.
Singapore, man. How do you concede 4 goals to this Chinese team, bro? Good Lord, man. Like, that was one of my biggest criticisms was offensively. I thought India was more exciting in that sense because China was dead offensively. They get 4 past Singapore, man. That's crazy. A 4-piece burger right there. And lastly, Iraq, I remember seeing that result.
Scoring a lot
and just continuing their momentum too. That's a team that I'm really excited to see in the next round, man.
Me too, bro. I'm really excited to see Iraq, and also Uzbekistan got 2 wins against Hong Kong. Hong Kong were decent at the Cup, but Uzbekistan should have won those games. They did. Let's keep that form rolling. I'm very excited to see if Uzbekistan can qualify. But yeah, man, I mean, like this next round's gonna be nuts.
Yeah, I think I wrote down here the teams that I believe have already qualified to the next round. I have 12 out of 18 teams. Australia already through, in my opinion.
Yeah.
UAE, Bahrain looks pretty convincing.
They did well too.
Yeah, Saudi Arabia is in as the top team in their group.
They are. Yeah.
I wrote Jordan.
We'll find out in the next game.
Yeah, we'll find that one out.
Scary.
Iraq, Indonesia, Iran, Uzbekistan, South Korea, Japan, and Qatar.
Yeah.
I'd say about 6 or 7 teams are left to be determined, but I think we'll find that out in June. I think early June is when it happens, the next round of fixtures.
Pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be insane, man, to figure out who gets those final entries into the next stage. But just kind of rounding out the whole international game right now, we're about to enter a limbo period with these massive tournaments waiting for us in the summer. The friendlies aren't many, honestly. There's going to be some in early June, I believe, right before the Copa America and the Euros.
Right.
But by then, I mean, that's going to be a different mentality that these players are going to have. There's a lot of club football in between, but I think this is the last international break for now where, it's kind of mixed. Like the next time we have an international break, it's going to be very clear what these players are playing for. It's for a trophy.